It's The Drive with Tim Donnelly. Dennis Cox sitting in for Tim this afternoon. Graham Hill is producing the show for us today. Happy early 4th of July to everyone out there. And as Tim would say, it's 4 o'clock, football at 4. You can set your watch by it. I was thinking about this today, Graham. There's been so much of the conversation over the last several years, and really over the last year about the Carolina Panthers has been mostly negative. Right? And justifiably so. You went 2-15. You fired another head coach. You fired your general manager. Things obviously did not turn out well with the Bryce Young trade so far, and obviously seeing the guy that you passed on, C.J. Stroud, ball out, it has not been good overall. You looking to see guys like, oh wait, DJ Moore no longer here. Christian McCaffrey no longer here. Brian Burns no longer here. What do we have to show for it? We went 2-15. So, again, a lot of the conversation around the Carolina Panthers has been negative, and that's understandably so. And a lot of Panthers fans are frustrated, and I get it. Justifiable. Also, I'm sure a lot of Panthers fans are tired of people talking crap about their team. I totally get it. So, you know what? I chose positivity today, Graham.
Uh-oh.
What do you mean, uh-oh? What do you mean, uh-oh?
You just mentioned it all. When the Carolina Panthers, that's dangerous. Optimism can be a dangerous thing with this franchise.
Hope is what kills you. Now, but I am going to give you 3 reasons about why you should be excited about this upcoming year. I'm not saying the Carolina Panthers are going to be a playoff team. Not saying that at all. I'm on the record saying they're probably a 5-6 win team. 5-6 win team, which is an improvement over 2 wins. All right? I still think there's a lot of holes on their roster. There's not much depth. There's still a lot of things that this team has got to figure out over the next few years, but I do think there are steps in the right direction, and I'm going to give you 3 reasons as to why I think that, and things that you should be excited about. Again, I don't think they're a playoff team unless you're going to do it. Crazier things have happened. Number 1, this offense is obviously going to be revamped. We actually heard Dave Canales. We played it yesterday. Graham, if you can go and pull up the Dave Canales soundbite yesterday that we pulled about the offense not being up to NFL standards. Let me know when you have that ready. You have it? Let's go ahead and hear. Here's Dave Canales.
If we can just play good football, the side stories, the headlines will write themselves. But can we just get our football right? And that really was just a reflection on it wasn't the greatest brand of offensive football.
Mm-hmm.
There were things up front, there were things schematically that we needed to work on. And that wasn't to NFL standard and certainly not to Carolina Panthers 2024 standard.
Okay, so that was Dave Canales, head coach of the Carolina Panthers, on with Peter Schrager on his podcast. Yeah, the offense last year was not up to NFL standards. I think that we can all objectively say that.
I mean, heck, Dave Canales saw it up close and personal in the final game of the regular season.
He saw it twice.
Yeah, that's also true.
That's the thing.
Now, granted, I think his team only did, a combined total of 36 points, something like that?
Hey, more than 12
in Charlotte, yeah.
But nonetheless, the offense is going to be revamped in terms of what Dave Canales obviously saw the offense last year up close and personal. But also just the offensive personnel has evolved, right? You actually went and got yourself a legit number 1 receiver in Deontay Johnson. When I say legit, someone actually could separate from coverage. So you got yourself a number 1 wide receiver, so you're not asking 34-year-old Adam Thielen to be your number 1 guy. You also went and drafted a receiver in the first round this year in Xavier Legette. Hopefully his hamstring and everything is all good this year and he stays healthy. So you went ahead and add 2 pieces on the perimeter. You also drafted Jatavian Sanders as a tight end. Extremely good athlete. Still some things to mold and work on, but that's where coaching comes in. I'll get into that here in just a second. But also you went and got a running back in the second round in Jonathan Brooks from Texas, still recovering from that ACL injury. We'll see how much he's able to do. But also, importantly, in free agency, you signed 2 offensive linemen, interior offensive linemen, Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis. This offense is going to be revamped around Bryce Young going into his second year. To me, that's reason for optimism because it's not just the same people coming back last year. It's not the same people calling plays. It's a revamped offense, and obviously there's an emphasis from Dave Canales on running the football.
Yep.
A revamped offense, and I think they're actually going to have some semblance of an identity. At least they know what they want to be. Are they capable of doing that? Time will tell. Number 2. Last year, the Carolina Panthers defense was like the bright spot, right? They kept them in some games. Were they perfect? Far from it. There's some things in terms of red zone defense and lack of quarterback pressure that can be improved. But the addition of A'Shawn Robinson with Derek Brown, to me, is exciting if I'm a Panthers fan, because they're going to wreak havoc on offenses, especially up the middle. They're going to wreak havoc on other teams. They're going to make life miserable in the run game. They should hopefully make life miserable for quarterbacks, forcing them to run out of the pocket, flush out of the pocket, all those different things. Those two guys up front, along with Shy Tuttle, should wreak a lot of havoc. And that, to me, is exciting. I know it's not the sexy thing because, we get so wrapped up in fantasy football stats and all those kinds of things and yards and touchdowns and blah, 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 blah. That's the reason for excitement, is because Dave Canales clearly has emphasized it all starts with the ball. They're clearly, Dave Canales and Dan Morgan are building everything from starting with the ball, where it's snapped, outward. And you got one of the best defensive linemen in the entire NFL in Derek Brown, and you added a beast up front with A'Shawn Robinson, which should help everyone else. That's another reason to get excited. I think this Panthers defense is going to be extremely difficult to run on this coming season. And lastly, the thing that actually has me excited the most, Graham, there's a new culture with the Carolina Panthers. The identity of this team has, over the last several years, has been there's been no identity. There's been no identity for this team for the last several years. The only time we actually really saw a semblance of an identity over the last 5-6 years is when Steve Wilkes was the interim head coach. He brought that keep pounding mindset. Tough physical, run the football, tough defense. That's how they had to play in order to be in games. And for the most part, it worked. Now, the personnel and all that wasn't great. There were some flaws. Obviously, him being the interim head coach and being shoved into that position was not an ideal thing for him. Or say not shoved in that position, being put in that position, not an ideal thing. But there actually seems to be a semblance of culture and identity with this franchise that hasn't been there in a long, long time. The way Dan Morgan and Dave Canales have talked about the guys that they want to bring in via the draft and through free agency, the culture of this team, clearly there's a shift. And if you're a Panthers fan, that should be the most exciting thing for you. Personnel and some things like that, schemes, all that stuff's going to change over time. That's all going to evolve. But the culture of the team, the way that's evolved, they clearly looked at some guys and said, you know what, Von Bell, we're not going to save a lot of money by letting you go, but you're out of here. Hayden Hurst, we're not going to save any money by letting you go, but you're out of here. They clearly made some big time. Bradley Bozeman, sorry, you're gone. They clearly identified guys on their team and said, you know what? We're going to make sure that the culture of this team is to where we want it. Dan Morgan's comment. We want dogs, right?
Right. Fear the logo.
What dogs? We should actually, because we know we have the Bryceometer that we have during the regular season. We should have like the Dan Morgan, dogometer or something like that.
The doghouse.
Exactly, the doghouse.
Dan Morgan's doghouse.
Dan Morgan's doghouse. Like to the bottom left, you're not very good, you're a little poodle or something like that. If you make a lot of noise, but you're not really super aggressive, maybe you're a little dachshund, whatever it might be. If you're a little scared and skittish, maybe you're like a little terrier mix. But you still look cute, though. Maybe, I don't know. We'll have to come over the Dan Morgan's doghouse meter. I'm not entirely sure. But the culture of this team clearly is turning in the right direction, and that's the thing. We really should get Panthers fans most excited.